Well, thank you, Siggy. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'd like to pass on regrets from Craig McLean that he was not able to come today, but with his great pleasure, he'll be able to join us tomorrow. Craig McLean, for those who do not know, he serves as the U.S. chair for the U.S.-EU Marine Working Group and the lead for the implementation of Galway in the United States. So I have the pleasure, along with Dr. Don Rice, a colleague from the National Science Foundation Division of Ocean Sciences, to give you a few remarks on the implementation of Galway and our perspectives of it. This is not the first time, and certainly won't be the last time, you probably see a slide with that photo and those signatures possibly. And of course, this brings us back to where this all started in Galway. There was a workshop held on the 23rd of May 2013 in which scientists from Canada, the US, and Europe joined and discussed what were the issues and the potential activities for implementing what would soon become known as the Galway Statement. And of course, the next day, on May 24th, the statement was signed by representatives of the European Union, the United States, and Canada. Okay. So, just prior to the actual signing of the Galway Statement, though, there was a meeting of the Joint Coordinating Group under the US-EU High-Level Science and Technology Agreement. And at that time, there was a couple of working groups formed, one on Arctic and one on Marine. And so that Marine working group was formed, and NOAA was asked to be the lead for that particular working group. And that has been the primary functional area in which we've used to implement Galway, at least in the earlier parts. So most of our initial engagement has been through that Marine Working Group, and there were 5 areas of collaboration for that Marine Working Group that were identified. And they're up here: ocean stressors with a focus on ocean acidification, ocean observations, ocean literacy, marine microbial ecology, and aquaculture. And so 2014, we focused on doing assessments. What is Europe and the EU? What is the US doing in each of these areas? And then trying to identify potential areas for collaboration. And that did take some time. But we wanted to move from a primary bilateral relationship to really a trilateral one, where we engaged all 3 of the partners that signed the Galway Statement. So in April 2014, there was an international planning workshop for the North Atlantic Arctic Cooperation. And this was held near National Science Foundation in Arlington, Virginia. Out of that workshop came a science plan and a real commitment by a cadre of scientists from Canada, the US, and Europe. In November 2014, we held our first formal trilateral meeting between Canada, US, and the EU on implementation of Galway, and that was done in Ottawa. And then in December 2015, as was mentioned previously, we had the Atlantic Seabed Mapping Workshop held in Dublin. And what was unique about this was not started on a bilateral way, either between Canada and the EU or the US and EU, but we brought everybody together. And we really formed a new working group in seabed mapping as a result of this workshop that is truly trilateral. And then in February 2015, there was an EU stakeholder meeting that was very, very important because it took 2 of the thematic areas and really brought together all 3 parties, Canadian scientists, US scientists, and European scientists, to discuss and turn those into truly trilateral working groups. And there was a much more extensive workshop, if you will, as a follow-up on seabed mapping. So I'd like to take a few moments to talk about some early outcomes that resulted from those meetings and the planning that is ongoing. And I want to focus on 3 working groups: the Aquaculture Working Group, Seabed Mapping Working Group, and Ocean Literacy Working Group. In the Aquaculture Working Group, the overarching objective was to help enable and develop sustainable aquaculture in the US, EU, and Canada in the Atlantic, and also to develop concrete products to support the efficient and effective permitting and other management decisions on aquaculture, as well as to help producers reduce risk. So there were 4 joint priority areas that were agreed to, and I'm going to go over them here. Priority 1, progressing models from scientific to operational status for evaluating risk and enabling development of sustainable aquaculture. 2, improvement and integration of monitoring systems for aquaculture. 3, adaptive strategies for dealing with climate change and other environmental effects on aquaculture. 4, public acceptance and public awareness. And this has a nice, strong linkage to the Ocean Literacy Working Group, which I'll talk about in a moment. And we're finding that ocean literacy really is a true crosscut in a number of the areas that we are working together on. Next, I would like to talk about Seabed Mapping Working Group, the newest. Couple of areas that came out of both Dublin Workshop and the workshop held in February here in Brussels were, first, a look at data. So there was discussion about the need for a truly North Atlantic data portal. Now, we've heard about how there's not a lot of mapping that's gone on. But there is mapping data out there. And it is not so easily accessible. In fact, Trevor Sortwager, who was from Canada, who was at the meeting, was amazed to know that we don't have a single place we can go and view all of the data in nice thematic overages. We don't have that available. So how are we going to make that available for all of us that are working on mapping in the Atlantic? So the idea is that we work together to, first of all, determine where is the data, determine its availability, identify, as they say here, proprietary and provide contact information. In other words, metadata. And then we have to stay informed about the proposed and planned upcoming surveys so we can leverage those opportunities. And then we want to make it easily to contribute. The data does not have to be in one place, but we have to have the ability to make it easily accessible. And then we looked at the planning for a pilot survey. And this is something that everybody seems very, very excited about. And so we did a lot of discussion trying to define what were some of the attributes we would like to have on that survey. Well, multi-resolution nested survey is what came out of that. And so it will consist of ship-based multi-beam mapping, bathymetry, seafloor acoustics backscatter, water column sonar backscatter, sub-bottom and magnetics, as well as AUV and ROV-borne multi-beam sonar. These are all the initiatives we want to move forward on, and we'll have the opportunity to hear more about the seabed mapping activities later today. Ocean literacy. One of the great outcomes out of the ocean literacy is that the 7 ocean literacy essential principles and fundamental concepts have been recognized and accepted as a valuable tool for transatlantic cooperation in developing ocean literacy actions and delivering integrated messages by all the parties. The transatlantic ocean literacy could benefit from targeting marketing efforts and recognizing maritime industries. And I think that was important, that was an interesting proposal was how many of us, you get on that flight to cross the Atlantic and you look at the pocket that's sitting in front of you with the magazines and that little bag that you hopefully never have to use. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a brochure in there that talked a little bit about and provided information and knowledge about that very body of water you were crossing? And that's a great opportunity. We need to be thinking outside the box and thinking about opportunities such as that. What other opportunities are there to really help educate and increase ocean literacy of the public that we interact with? And we need to identify unique transatlantic ocean literacy contributions of each of the partners for effective and efficient leveraging of capacity building moving forward. Let's talk a moment about Horizon 2020. So we stand here on the precipice of the engagement of many projects that will help implement the Galway Statement. And so the U.S. celebrates this. And we also have a number of scientists that are partners or participants on a number of these Horizon 2020 projects. And we're also pleased to see the strong participation and contributions from scientists in Canada, Europe, as well as the United States, but also our South Atlantic partners as well. And these projects really are set to launch us into that next phase of engagement of Galway. And now I'd like to turn over the presentation to Dr. Donald Rice, who's going to talk a little bit about the National Science Foundation perspectives.